about all this stuff. Let's get into some climate change news. I know it's very late in the day. I was late to the party, and so I'll probably go a couple minutes long. Um, right. PF, the environment crisis finds its way to the bottom of all topics. No, actually, well, at least in the public sphere, it does. But we know that climate change is the most important topic, and why the media, why politicians, why corporations, corporations, whatever. If corporations really realized how bad climate change is or was, and what would be necessary to fight climate change, they would shutter their doors immediately and donate all their money to help people transition to another way of life. But they don't realize that, and they're not going to stop trying to make money, and so that probably won't happen unless somebody orders that to happen. Um, yes, Ryan Gorman, Biden vowed to veto Medicare for all during a pandemic. He's a sick, greedy fuck. Exactly. But somehow he's the good guy. Somehow he's morally upstanding. Somehow he's ethically better than Trump. I He's not going to save the environment. Ola Donkey, he is not going to save the environment. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He is not going to do shit. He just said, I don't support the Green New Deal. He just said, I'm not going to stop fracking. They just took out, in the Democratic policy platform, they said they were going to end subsidies for fossil fuels, and then they took that out overnight in secret, so they thought nobody would notice. They're going to keep on subsidizing fossil fuels. So tell me again how Biden is better than Trump. Tell me again how Biden is going to save the environment, but Trump won't. Please, please. The answer lies somewhere else. And, I know, we're trying to hang some kind of hope on Biden. The answer lies somewhere else. We're going to have to do something different. It's going to have to be something entirely different, and probably not going to rely, it's not going to involve voting. It's probably going to involve something else. Ola Donkey, I said the Republicans have to go. Well, I'll agree with you on some levels, but I mean, they're the same damn party. They are the same damn party. And I don't see the Democrats really trying to get more progressive, since they did everything they could to drum the progressives out of the party. Anyways, that was partly climate change news, but let's go into some climate change news, or try to anyways. This is from Go Green. Melt ponds open in Arctic as permafrost melts at levels not expected until 2090. Can we say faster than expected? Much, much faster than expected, right? So this was not supposed to happen until 2090. Permafrost melts at levels not expected until 2090. Permafrost thawing levels were 240% higher than historic levels, and the ground sank 90 centimeters over the course of the study, which ran for 12 years between 2003 and 2016. Well, let's look a little more at this, shall we? Yeah. Permafrost has begun thawing in the Canadian Arctic more than 70 years early. I feel like we've read this before. Oh, yeah, it's because this is from 2019. That's why. More than 70 years early because of climate change, according to new research. This, a year ago, a series of anomalously, not anonymously, warm summers has dramatically accelerated melting rates at 3 sites, despite average annual ground temperatures remaining low. Ponds and hillocks have formed as a result. It had been thought that the permafrost Ground that remains frozen for at least 2 years would remain until at least 2090. Study found thawing levels were about 150 to 240% above historic levels. Well, guess what, guys? Do you think that any of that has changed or gotten better? We had, again, yet another record year for temperature anomalies in the Arctic, another record year for melting. This year, in 2020, so it's only gotten worse. It's only accelerated. Keith Hayes, elitists don't do climate change. Have we figured this out yet? Okay. They do not. You're right. Rich Diana, Arctic and exponential are now one word. Ola Donkey, I wish that progressives would make progress in this election, and that, very, very few numbers they're trying to get in, but I don't see it changing the course of politics on any significant level. Anyways. Basil Peterson, this is a record-breaking year. We are the best. We're number one. We're number one. Let's move on. Oh, my God. What do we have here? More heat waves. When the planet gets warmer, that means that the temperatures go up. I thought it was getting cooler, or I thought something else was happening. Anyways, global warming brings global warming. Heat wave insanity continues in South America. This is from Scotland. These are profound records and could get beaten on consecutive days. Some parts of these countries are facing blackout, water shortage, and wildfire. This is an emergency. This is from September 30th. 44C, 43.5C, 42C. Extremely hot temperatures in Brazil. And all through South America. I believe Argentina is experiencing very hot weather as well. They are also getting, this is from Argentina, 42, 42, 42, 39. Climate Watcher says, gosh, that heat wave looks awfully close to the South Pole. Right. So Antarctica also, I just covered this yesterday, experiencing 20°C temperature anomalies right now. Someone else replied, ecologists have already predicted this is going to happen. The water cycle between the Atlantic Ocean and the Andes Mountains brings the rainfall to forests. As the forest disappears, water evaporates over the hot land before reaching the Andes, and the cycle is broken. Another tweet by National Geographic. This year of extreme heat, influenced by a supremely loopy weather pattern, is yet another wave the fire-prone West can't afford. That's for the U.S. Here's something positive about Biden, but the word potentially is the one here. Potentially important moment. Biden bars fossil fuel execs, board members from his administration. This could help further break the stranglehold of natural gas industry on Dem politics. Well, if that actually does anything, we'll see. If he doesn't backtrack on that, we'll see. Moving into this from the Desert Sun. Tired of triple-digit heat, Palm Springs set to break record for most 100-degree days in a year. Setting records every single year, that's what we're doing. Palm Springs is expected to break its record for the most days with triple-digit temperatures during a calendar year on Thursday, and the bad news is the Coachella Valley is not yet done with the heat. Thursday, that's yesterday, will be the city's 136th day with triple-digit temperatures in 2020. Good God. Surpassing the previous record of 135 days set in 1958, according to the National Weather Service. Similar above normal conditions are expected to last into next week, allowing for the record to widen the gap between 1958 and 2020's numbers. Confidence is high we will set the record on Thursday, or I should say reset the record, said Phil Gonzalez, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. Thursday's predicted high temperature of 110 degrees will be the 21st consecutive day with triple-digit temperatures since September 10th, when the afternoon high peaked at 97 degrees. The average high temperature is currently 95 degrees, so once again, the Coachella Valley is seeing well above normal conditions. And it is supposed to reach 100 degrees here today, and currently my thermometer is at 98 degrees. In the 160 days since April 23rd, which was Palm Springs' first triple-digit day of 2020, double-digit highs have only occurred on 26 dates, according to National Weather Service data. So there is that. Alexi says, tired of triple-digit heat? Switch to Celsius. There you go. What? It's only 45 degrees? It's great. Moving on, something I wanted to cover from you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. This is from Roger Hallam on his the burningpink.org website, which is his organization Beyond Politics. And I'm just going to, I'm going to read this. I'm going to do a couple other readings, guys. We're going to go a little bit later today. But this is good from Roger Hallam. During my childhood, I went to the Methodist church each Sunday. My mother was a local preacher there. After coming home, she would have me count up the money from various collections for charities she was raising money for. More often, it was Christian Aid or Amnesty. I was made to understand there were terrible, terrible things happening in the world, and the best way to respond to this was to support charity work. My mother walked her talk. For 50 years, she tirelessly raised money for NGOs because she was heartbroken by the injustice and unnecessary suffering in this world. By the way, this is titled Nothing's Happening on throwing paint at the doors of NGOs. So Roger Hallam and others have been throwing paint on the doors of NGOs, including Greenpeace. It is the betrayal of those millions, then mainly women, who built the NGOs over the later decades of the last century that lead me to throw paint. With 3 other Beyond Politics members at the doorways of NGOs this week. So, Roger Hallam is doing something outside of the two-party system and or voting, right? He's taking it to the streets, taking it to whatever organizations he needs to take it to the government at large. He actually is calling for the complete overthrow of the government as it stands right now in order to deal with the climate crisis. These organizations promise to make a better world. They dominate the public space of ethical civil action. And yet they are refusing to take proportionate action in response to the outrageous injustice of the climate crisis. It is now clear that if governments continue to put carbon into the atmosphere, all the work of those past generations of people of goodwill like my mother will be lost. It will have been for nothing. Our children will enter a pit of hell from which future generations will never return. The government is committing the greatest crime in the history of humanity through their inaction. It has recently been advised to adapt to 4C of extra fatal heating. It's been advised to adapt to 4C. Yeah. That's 10C inland over 20C of excess heat on a hot day. This will make whole continents uninhabitable and trigger feedbacks in the Earth system which are likely to take the human race to extinction. Let's be clear about what this precisely means. The indescribable suffering of billions of people from rape, starvation, and slaughter. None of this is new information. We have been told since 1990 that ecological collapse will lead to social collapse. It is now starting to take place. When I arrived in London 5 years ago to study campaign mobilization and civil disobedience for a PhD at King's College, I had the naive belief that the professional classes running our liberal and charitable institutions would be up in arms at this violation of everything they claim to believe in. For sure, my mother would be turning in her grave. I was consistently met with a psychotic inability to emotionally connect with the magnitude of the suffering and injustice we are facing. In short, I got nothing other than bland excuses for inaction. My research led me to helping found Extinction Rebellion in the spring of 2018. Based upon the theories of the effectiveness of mass nonviolent direct action, XR transformed the conversation on the climate catastrophe in the matter of weeks as it engaged in the largest episode of civil disobedience in UK history in April 2018, 18 months after a bunch of us met in a cafe in Bristol. XR had become the #1 influencer in the world on the crisis. The reason is not difficult to work out. We break the law. As the XR Declaration of Rebellion makes clear, the social contract is broken. When a government plans to have its citizens die, then it is right and indeed a duty to rebel against the government. This is the core proposition of our progressive political tradition. This is what the new political party Beyond Politics has been set up to do, to remove our criminal political class and replace it with the assemblies of ordinary people. NGOs have been ignoring their duty for 30 years. They have ignored the overwhelming evidence that mass participation, civil disobedience works, and they have continued to dominate the public sphere with their bland assertions of concern about the radical evil we face. This is betrayal, hence the paint. Nonviolent action, properly understood, is a specific form of disruption which aims to bring into the open the violence and injustice of an opponent. It is not reasonable. It has to be shocking because that's how it works. But it intends not just to condemn wrongdoing, but also to open the space for dialogue and thus resolution, which brings about social progress. So far, our actions have been met with an official silence from the NGOs. The cold logic of public relations is overruling the desire for emotional connection. In other words, civility politics, right? Well, let's just be civil. Let's all be nice. Let's talk this out. Let's be nice. But let's do nothing. But we know, and I'm sure plenty of people in these organizations know they cannot go on the way they have. We also know that our actions are helping some to gain the courage to act. They owe it to my mother's memory and the many good folks who funded their success to face up to their responsibilities. We demand NGOs immediately organize mass civil disobedience against the genocidal government, if for no other reason than to regain their self-respect. This is Roger Hallam, and that's what he's doing. Like it or not, right or wrong, whether you agree with him or not, damn it, he's doing something. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. Oh. Rich Diana Trump was uncivil, and look what happened to him. Rich Diana says, we'll make changes in panic and lateness. Indeed we will, I'm sure. Hold on, guys. Sorry, of course, now my buttons aren't working. Hold, please. Okay, there we go. I just got to hit the buttons harder, right? That's what she said. Uh, um, yeah, Osama, yeah. Veronica says, interesting. Roger Hallam is a fighter with heart. Yes, he is. Exactly. Like him or not, whether you approve of what he's saying or not, whether you think he's in reality or not, God damn it, he's doing something. Arcadius asks, when should I quit my job? I don't know. Maybe keep your job and do something else outside of the system. I don't know. Lastly, I want to read from. I've been trying to read some Marty McCorkle, and I'm just getting bogged down with the things I'm talking about. Anyways, let's read some Marty McCorkle before we sign off. He's left a couple of really good comments. I'm going to read a few. He left a quote yesterday from Lao Tzu. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. A quote from Lao Tzu. And this is a good comment from Marty McCorkle from the other day. Kevin, stop being such a racist against tyrannical governments. I bet you go around claiming that some of your best friends are tyrannical governments, but admit it. You are a bigoted anti-tyrant-ite. Besides, there's no need to worry about 2050, 2040, or whatevs zero emission promises, because a deco at remaining cheap fossil fuels proves that zero emission targets are coming up as 3 bars on the slot machine of fate. Or whatever fate plays in Vegas. Maybe blackjack of fate. In fact, fate is sneaking up on us with a tire iron right now, and not to change the flat EV tire. This fossil fuel gag is on its last years or so, has revealed itself to be deeply drilled holes into which almost as much energy is poured in as the energy pulled out. Fracking is the yacht of oil wells, a money hole. And the big oil companies have shrugged their shoulders and abandoned their budgets devoted to discover new oil fields. The time is arriving when, if you don't count everyone burning everything they can get their hooks on to cook with and stay warm, zero emissions will be the unpleasant reality. Industrial farming, electricity, and piped water will continue only in fairy tales told to sleepy, gullible children who won't believe in fossil fuel civilization by age 10. But if one needs a security blankie, keep imagining that wind turbines and solar panels will save industrial civilization's bacon, and life will continue pretty much as it is now. Good luck with industrial processes that rely on extreme heat, like smelting steel and creating cement, on those overcast and windless days. China is building a new coal power plant each week, but needs a lot of diesel fuel to ship coal from northern China and Australia. Right. As diesel gets more expensive, that is, needs more energy to extract and process, coal plants will yield negative energy returns. That is, they will be closed. The emerging world hosts far fewer people who consume far less than our supersized population that gulps down cheap fossil fuel as if it were burpee soda. That whole troop of promises of less carbon emissions won't know what blew right past them on this highway to perdition. Was it a bird, a plane? No, it's net energy decline. Our hero who defeats evil genius Dr. COO, emissions. But if anyone has the location of cheap fossil fuel plays that were overlooked by the prospecting oil companies, contact said oil companies. They'll probably give you soup for life or some other fab prize. They are totally over-fracking and roll their eyes about that Obama speech about energy independence for a century. Good speech, though. Not true, but good. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel. The links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there.